Oh, I did not just do that. Right, cheers. Here's a video I've been meaning to make for quite a while. Crashing the drone was almost a year ago, almost exactly a year ago. Let me take you back. Alright, morning folks. It's friggin' cold. We're up on the Scottish border, near Kershope Foot. Not Kershope Head, Kershope Foot. It's bloody cold, and we've drove up through the sunrise. It was quite nice, but now it's just come 10 o'clock and it's actually a bit later than what we'd intended to arrive here because we had to take a fuel detour. Anyway, we're here now, just on the edge of, I don't know what forest it is, not Kielder Forest, Kershope Forest. We're about to start a hike into Kershope Head, where there's a bothy. We'll be spending the night, and the bothy that we're staying at tonight, I think it's safe to say that it's the most isolated house in the country, probably.
This is only awkward because
it really was. It's literally the most isolated building in the country. Although where we parked the car from was only, I'm saying only an hour and a half hike from the nearest road to the bothy itself. And it's just on fire road, so it's pretty easy walking. And for that reason, Nick decided to carry as much as he possibly could.
Yep. I'm not going to be cold tonight. I've got my thermals.
You're not going to be thirsty either. Anyway, the walk took us along, like I said, fire roads for a good, I think it was 4 or 5, maybe even 6 miles. I can't remember. I'm not sure. It felt like 10. And it was really cold. I mean, so seriously cold. The road was just completely frozen. That's just ice. Yeah, so no underestimating just how cold it was this weekend. I think I must also mention as well, a bothy. If you're not familiar with what a bothy is, it's a building that would otherwise be disused, the shell of a structure in most cases, where the door's always left open. It's weatherproof, mostly. It's like camping, but instead of a tent here, you're staying in an old building. Generally, these buildings are owned; they're not just derelict and abandoned. They are maintained, so the roof is in good repair. The windows, you know, they're still in. You know, they don't get, if any of them get smashed, you're vandalised, and they do get repaired. Generally, the people who own these bothies are members of the Bothies Association. They get funding, and they get a community of helpers to go out and maintain the bothies. It's all voluntary, but yeah, it's just something different than camping. It's a way of staying overnight somewhere with a roof over your head, a solid roof. Anyway, we carried on walking, and it was just walking along fire roads. It's really not interesting. It was pretty much the most boring walk I have ever been on. Fire roads through the woods all the way for I don't know, 5 or 6 miles. Anyway, the bothy was a sight for sore eyes. On the outside, it looked pretty decent. It had a brand new roof. It looked pretty big. It looked quite homely, quite cozy.
Amazing how it's all done. In other words, if you killed us, I know where we are. Is that glass?
Yeah.
I didn't think they had any glass in it. I didn't expect it to have windows at all.
It used to be just a shell. It didn't have a roof or anything. You'll see
So yeah, it looked pretty promising. That is until we found out there was already a bunch of people there. There's people here.
Hello. Oh, it's wet.
So there was 6 of them in total. They'd come up from somewhere in Yorkshire. They'd already spent a night and they were intending on spending another night. Their agenda was just to get lashed. They were just there to drink, just like a retreat away from the wives. Basically, our agenda was to set out for a hike that day. We were going to hike to the top of Kershope Fell. Although by the time we got ourselves to the bothy and then got our things unpacked and then got ready for the hike itself, time was beginning to get on a little bit. So we got a bit of a late start. What made things worse is that we couldn't really find the way. We were supposed to hike along a fire road some of the way and then peel off to a little track or something that follows a berm, but we couldn't find the burn. In fact, there were several burns and there were no burns with a distinct track next to it. We've already attempted to break off from the main fire road a few times up to the top of the fell, but every time we take one of the routes, it's just all very boggy, very wet. It's like knee deep. So we're just sacking it off for today, like ignoring, we'll probably revisit the fell tomorrow. Especially so because we'll have more time as well, because I think to hike up to the top of the fell and back down to the bothy again, we'll be pushing it for daylight hours, and the weather is closing in as well. So it's taken us about an hour to get this far. So I think by the time we get back to the bothy, it'll probably be about 3 o'clock and starting to get dark. The next day, we'd actually discover that we were on the right path. There is actually no path. You have to follow the burn, even if it means getting knee deep in boggy stuff. It's not pleasant. Anyway, back to the bothy. These guys were well through their drinking session and it was time for a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Why is he drug dealer?
Said that hotel. It's got too long. This is a crap one.
That's his cover.
What's these mushrooms? Yeah. I found mushrooms.
Okay, yeah, they're loud, but they're canny chaps. The banter was good, and they did a lot of sawing wood for us and keeping the fire stocked up. A few hours of chat and a bit of coffee, and it was time to put dinner on.
Fencing.
Fencing.
It's a good cheap spot to take up, isn't it?
Some hand sanitizer over there.
It was beef chilli, and it was actually a lot nicer than I looked.
Yeah, okay, I'll need it after this.
So with dinner down and a bit more chat and a lot more chat and a bit more alcohol, a lot more alcohol for those chaps, it was time to bed down. The fire was on downstairs, but upstairs it was so cold. I mean, we could see our own breath. Not cool. When we were sitting downstairs, I was thinking worst case scenario, it's too cold to stay in here tonight. Because it is really, really cold, like really cold. I just said to Nick, look, if it's just like 2 o'clock in the morning and you're shivering and you're struggling to get to sleep and you want to go home, I'm up for that. But it means like a 4.5 mile walk back to the car, and then like an hour and a half. Like that's going to be an hour and a half in itself. Then an hour and a half drive home on like what is probably going to be treacherously slippery roads. So we just decided, yeah, it's best off just to stick tonight. I don't think any of us were expecting to get any sleep that night. I mean, outside it was about -5, and upstairs in the bothy, I can't imagine it was any warmer. It didn't feel like it anyway. It was so cold. So yeah, we were faced with a pretty miserable night. I mean, between the cold and the chaps downstairs, I mean, they were really loud.
And then the dog pissed himself. Oh, but Jesus, the dog pissed himself.
Yeah, so loud. It's like they didn't know we were upstairs trying to sleep. I mean, as loud as that all the way until about 4 o'clock in the morning. Guys, if you're watching this now, not cool. And that is easily the coolest night I've ever experienced in a sleeping bag. Managed to stay warm enough, but I think that's just because of the new sleeping bag I bought last year. Nick struggled to stay warm. I think his survival bag came out. We'll have a hot drink, a cup of coffee or something, and we'll see what we're gonna have planned for the day. It looks like a nice day outside. There's a lot of frost on the ground.
Have a look at the crag. There's 50 crag. I think really interesting. We've got loads of Victorian battles.
We've just got a little bit higher to climb to the top of the hill, but we're going to take a look around the crag first. And it was thereabouts where I decided to take the drone for a flight to get some awesome footage in. Let me do this.
Well, we've had a bit of a disaster. Jason's drone's flown into a tree, and Melina is busy climbing the tree now to try and get it against all our wishes. Seriously? I mean, I know that Melina and Jason are rock climbers, but I'm not comfortable with them climbing the tree like that. It's snowing. It's like a squirrel. Can't see her in the trees now. Seriously, are you alright?
Can you see it? Can't believe I'm letting her do this.
She's got it. The back legs go. The back legs full first. This is nuts. Pull them downwards. Then in. I just hope she gets down alright. This is absolutely nuts. Really, really nuts. You have to remember, we are literally in the middle of nowhere here. It must be a good, almost 10-mile hike to the nearest house that's occupied. Bloody hell, it's in one piece. I don't know if to give you a round of applause or to condemn you for being absolute nuts. That's mental.
It really was. Basically, I was ready just to write the drone off. I was having to talk myself into doing it really hard, and I just couldn't. I was ready just to write it off. But Melina was having to really talk herself out of doing it. In fact, I was having to do a lot of talking her out of doing it. In the end, I just let her get on with it. You know, she's an adult, she can make her own decisions, and And I'm not one to discourage anybody from doing anything adventurous. As far as I was concerned, I was done. You know, I just had the most miserable night's sleep. We were just embarking on one of the most miserable hikes I've ever encountered. And we still had the worst yet to come. And I just crashed my drone. I mean, even at this point, for me, this weekend was a write-off. I just wanted to get the hike over with, get back to the bothy, and then get back to the car. After about another hour and a half hiking, we finally reached the top. We're at the top of Glendu summit. Over there, I think I'm pointing at it right, you can see no one cares. Dead, it's a dead hook fell, dead water fell, and then the Cheviot, whatever. That was it, we reached the top, Nick was happy, we're all happy, we can start going back down now. And of course, going down was just as much hard work as it was going up. Even though we were over the worst of it, I still wasn't in the mood for doing my video thing. So, over to Nick.
That was sheer hell.
And actually, funny enough,
That was definitely the hardest walk I've ever done, and it's the most unenjoyable one I've ever done. It's the first time I've been hiking and not enjoyed it. I look at the state of my trousers, and I'm wearing gaiters, and I'm up to the knees, and these two people aren't wearing gaiters, and they're absolutely drenched.
It was hell. Oh, but look at this. Oh, it's solid ground. It's solid ground.
that wasn't too bad, was it?
Oh, I never want to do that again.
Inappropriate behaviour to kiss a woman without permission.
Doors open.
Still be soon. Oh, Don't say you left the keys in the buffet.
So yeah, not the best weekend I've ever had. I probably would do it again. You know, the stay over and the hike. Well, actually not the hike, that was dreadful. But the night in the bothy, I probably would do it again. But sometime during the summer months, I mean, that was so cold. I cannot begin to describe just how cold that night was. So possibly, yeah, again, if it was the summertime. We head home anyway with the heaters on full blast and got home, had a nice hot shower, and then went to bed with the heating on. So, until next time, thanks for watching.